never expected my life to implode on a random Tuesday afternoon. But there I was, standing in my carefully curated living room, holding a hastily scrawled note from my husband that would shatter everything I thought I knew about our marriage. My name is Lark, and until today I thought I had the perfect life. The note trembled in my hands. We need to talk. Don't wait up tonight. 6 words. Jasper had never been one for lengthy explanations, but something about this felt different. Wrong. I might have dismissed it if not for what I'd found earlier while looking for our tax documents. A drawer that shouldn't have existed, hidden behind the false back of his desk. Inside were divorce papers dated 3 months ago and a photo that made my stomach lurch. Jasper with his arm around a young woman I'd never seen before, both of them laughing at some private joke in what looked like a beach resort. "This can't be happening," I whispered to our empty house, my voice bouncing off the walls I'd painstakingly painted myself last summer. Jasper had complained about the sage green color choice, calling it too avant-garde for our neighborhood. Now I wondered if his resistance had been about more than just paint. My phone buzzed. A text from my sister Eden. "Still on for dinner tomorrow?" I stared at the message, my thumb hovering over the keyboard. Should I tell her? No, not yet. Not until I knew more. Rain check. I typed back, adding a casual caught up with work excuse. The house felt different now, like a stage set where I was suddenly aware of all the props and false walls. Every photo of us on the mantelpiece. Every piece of furniture we'd picked out together. It all felt like evidence in a crime I was just beginning to uncover. I poured myself a glass of wine, the expensive Cabernet Jasper always saved for special occasions, and sat at his desk. The divorce papers were preliminary and signed. The photo was dated last month, during what was supposed to be his business trip to Miami. My hands weren't shaking anymore. Instead, a strange calm settled over me as I carefully photographed everything with my phone. The front door's security camera pinged, showing our neighbor Micah walking his dog past our house. He waved at the camera, knowing I always checked the notifications. Any other day, I might have gone out to chat. Today, I stayed put, my mind racing with possibilities. One thing was certain, Jasper had no idea I'd found his secret drawer. And for now, that was my only advantage. Jasper didn't come home that night. Or the next. By Thursday morning, I'd moved from shock to a kind of hollow anger that made my hands shake as I poured my 3rd cup of coffee. That's when Eden showed up unannounced, takeout bags in hand. "Spill it," she said, dropping the food on my kitchen counter. "You never cancel our Wednesday dinners unless something's wrong." I considered lying, maintaining the facade of normalcy I'd been clinging to. Instead, I wordlessly pulled out the divorce papers and photo from where I'd hidden them in my art supplies cabinet. Eden's face darkened as she examined them. "That absolute piece of," she started. "I know," I cut her off, suddenly exhausted. "Want to know the worst part? Last month, when he was supposedly in Miami with her, I was finalizing designs for his dream home office. The one he'd been begging for." Eden's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, then did a double take. "Lark, you need to see this." It was an Instagram post from someone named Talia Monroe. The photo showed a young woman, the same one from the photo with Jasper, standing in front of our house. "Our house." The caption read, "Can't wait to make this space my own. Hashtag new beginnings, hashtag interior design." "She's tagged him in it," Eden said quietly. My coffee mug slipped from my hand, shattering on the floor I'd hand-stained myself last spring. Jasper had complained about that project too, saying it was a waste of time when we could have hired professionals. "Remember when you got that offer to design that boutique hotel in Portland?" Eden asked, helping me clean up the broken ceramic. "The one Jasper convinced you to turn down because it would complicate things?" "He said the timing wasn't right," I muttered, but something clicked into place. That had been right after I'd landed my first major design contract, one that would have paid more than his annual bonus. My phone lit up with a text from Jasper. "Coming by tomorrow to pick up some things." "We should talk." Eden grabbed my hand. "Don't let him blindside you." You're better than that. You've always been better than that. Remember when we were kids and Tommy Peterson stole your art supplies? I actually smiled. I convinced the whole class to draw with mud instead. His precious white shirts were never the same. Exactly. You've never been a victim, Lark. Don't start now. I looked around my kitchen, the hand-painted tiles, the custom cabinets. Every detail I'd poured my creativity into while Jasper worked late at the office. This house wasn't just our home, it was my portfolio, my canvas, my proof of worth. You're right, I said, picking up my phone. I think it's time I made some calls. Eden raised an eyebrow. What are you planning? Let's just say Talia isn't the only one who can post about new beginnings. The doorbell rang at exactly 9 the next morning. I'd been up since dawn, arranging everything perfectly, including myself. I wore the emerald silk blouse Jasper had always hated, claiming it made me look too intimidating in client meetings. When I opened the door, Jasper wasn't alone. Talia stood beside him, wearing a designer dress that probably cost more than our first month's rent in this house. She had the decency to look uncomfortable. Lark, Jasper started, then faltered when he saw my expression. We thought it would be better to do this together. Like adults. I stepped aside, letting them enter. Of course. Would you like some coffee? I just finished redecorating the kitchen. Jasper's head snapped up. Kitchen had been his pride and joy, all chrome and black granite. Now it was a warm fusion of copper and sage, with hand-painted Moroccan tiles replacing his precious stainless steel backsplash. What have you done? He whispered. Oh, this. I gestured around. Just some updates I've been planning. Actually, Talia, since you're interested in interior design, what do you think about the new color palette? Talia's face flushed. How did you? Instagram, I said smoothly. Very ambitious, by the way, planning to redesign a house you've never set foot in. Until now, that is. Jasper stepped forward, his jaw tight. Look, we can discuss the house later. I came for my things and to talk about the divorce papers. The ones you had drawn up 3 months ago? I watched his face pale. Found those too, along with some interesting bank statements. Tell me, does Talia know about the money you've been moving to your private account? Talia's head whipped toward Jasper. What money? Just then, Micah appeared in the doorway, right on schedule. Sorry to interrupt, he said, not sounding sorry at all. Lark, the real estate agent, is here for the walkthrough. Real estate agent? Jasper sputtered. You can't sell this house without my permission. I smiled, feeling calmer than I had in weeks. Actually, I can. You see, while you were busy planning your new life, I was talking to lawyers too. The house is in my name. Remember how you insisted on that for tax purposes? Something about my design business, making it a partial business expense. The look on Jasper's face was worth every sleepless night I'd spent planning this moment. Talia took a step back, looking between us with growing uncertainty. You always said I was too impulsive with my designs, I continued, pulling out my phone. But sometimes, Jasper, you need to tear everything down to build something better. By the way, the Portland Hotel project? I accepted it this morning. They're thrilled to have me on board. Jasper's face went from pale to red. You're bluffing. Am I? I turned to Talia. You might want to check those bank statements before you pick out any more furniture. The real estate agent is waiting, so if you'll excuse me, I have a future to design. After the confrontation, I sat in my home office, staring at an email that made my earlier confidence waver. Portland Hotel project had a catch. They needed me to start next week, which meant leaving everything behind, including the house I'd just used as leverage against Jasper. My phone buzzed with Jasper's 7th message of the day. You're making a mistake. I can destroy your reputation in this town. Think about what you're doing. A soft knock at the door interrupted my thoughts. Micah stood there, holding 2 cups of coffee. Thought you might need this. Aiden told me about the Portland offer. Thanks. I accepted the coffee, noticing my hands were shaking. Did she also tell you about Jasper's latest threat? He's been busy, Micah said, pulling out his phone. Check your design firm's social media reviews. My stomach dropped as I scrolled through a dozen new one-star reviews, all posted within the last hour. Each one questioned my professionalism, my integrity, my talent. I recognized the writing style. Jasper had used his network of business contacts to attack my reputation. I should have seen this coming, I muttered, setting down my phone before I threw it across the room. Actually, Micah said, a strange note in his voice, I think someone did. He handed me a USB drive. Remember when you asked me to install those security cameras last month? I found something interesting in the footage. The video showed Jasper in his home office late at night, talking to someone on speakerphone. The audio was crystal clear. Once Lark's out of the picture, we can restructure the whole business. Her client list alone is worth more than the house. That's why he put everything in my name, I whispered. He wasn't protecting me, he was setting me up to take the fall if his plans failed. Micah nodded grimly. There's more. The person he's talking to? It's not Talia. It's her father, who happens to be the CEO of your biggest competitor. Pieces clicked into place. The rushed divorce, the sudden appearance of Talia, the pressure to turn down the Portland project. This wasn't just about an affair. This was about destroying everything I'd built. My phone buzzed again, an email from the Portland Hotel Group, asking for my final decision by midnight. You know, Micah said quietly, sometimes the best revenge isn't about destroying someone else's life. It's about refusing to let them destroy yours. I looked around my office, at the vision boards and design samples for projects I'd put on hold for Jasper's sake. Then I opened my laptop and started typing. What are you doing? Micah asked. Accepting the Portland job, I replied, my fingers flying across the keyboard. And then I'm calling my lawyer. If Jasper wants a war, he's about to learn I've got better ammunition than fake reviews. The morning I was supposed to leave for Portland, I found Talia sitting on my front steps. Her designer outfit was replaced with jeans and a wrinkled t-shirt, her makeup smudged like she'd been crying. I didn't know, she said before I could speak. About any of it. My father. He used me to get to you. I set down my moving boxes, studying her face. Why are you here? Because I found these. She pulled out a stack of papers, financial documents, emails, meeting notes. Jasper's been planning this for months. The affair, the house, everything. It was all about getting access to your client list and design patents. My hands clenched around my coffee cup. And your father's company? They're announcing their new luxury design division next week. Talia's voice cracked. Using your concepts. They're going to claim you stole their intellectual property. Before I could respond, Micah's security system pinged. Jasper's car was pulling into the driveway, followed by another vehicle I didn't recognize. That's my father's lawyer, Talia whispered. I made a split-second decision. Inside. Now. As we slipped through the door, I fired off a quick text to Eden. Need those documents now. Then I turned to Talia. Why should I trust you? Because I'm as much a fool in this as you are. She pulled up an email on her phone. Look at the date. Jasper approached my father about this scheme before he ever met me. I was just convenient. The doorbell rang. Through the security camera, I could see Jasper straightening his tie, the same gesture he'd make before closing a big deal. What are you going to do? Talia asked. I walked to my office where dozens of moving boxes were stacked against the wall. But instead of packing supplies, they contained something far more valuable. Copies of every sketch, every design note, every client contract I'd ever created, each one dated and notarized. You know what the funny thing is? I said, picking up one particular file. Jasper always complained about my obsessive documentation habits. He called it a waste of time. My phone buzzed, Eden confirming she'd sent everything to my lawyer. Through the window, I could see Micah positioning himself casually in his front yard, phone ready to record whatever was about to happen. The doorbell rang again, more insistent this time. "Last chance," I told Talia. "Are you with them or are you ready to tell the truth?" She squared her shoulders, looking more like the ambitious young woman from her Instagram posts than the broken person who'd shown up on my steps. "Truth. All of it." I nodded, picking up my phone to let them in. "Then let's give them a design lesson they'll never forget." I opened the door to find Jasper's smug smile falter at the sight of Talia standing beside me. The lawyer behind him, a shark in an expensive suit, barely concealed his surprise. "Well, this is cozy," Jasper recovered quickly. "Mind if we come in? We have some papers for you to sign." "Actually," I stepped aside, "I have something to show you first." They followed me into what used to be our living room. Now it was transformed into a makeshift gallery, with every wall covered in my original design sketches, each one dated and notarized. Beside them hung printouts of the new designs from Talia's father's company, identical copies of my work. "Interesting timing," I said, watching Jasper's face drain of color. "Your company announcing a luxury design division using my exact concepts, right after you try to destroy my reputation?" The lawyer stepped forward. "Mrs. Whitmore, these accusations are backed by evidence," Eden's voice cut in as she entered from the kitchen, tablet in hand, "including recorded conversations about this entire scheme." Jasper's composure cracked. "You're bluffing. You can't." "Can't what?" I interrupted. "Can't prove you orchestrated this whole thing? Can't show how you used your girlfriend to infiltrate my life while you stole my work?" I turned to Talia. "Show them." Talia handed over the stack of documents she'd brought. The lawyer flipped through them, his professional mask slipping with each page. "Here's what's going to happen," I said, my voice steady despite my racing heart. "You're going to drop this lawsuit. You're going to publicly retract those fake reviews. And you're going to." "Or what?" Jasper snarled, suddenly lunging forward. "You'll ruin me? I already transferred everything. The designs, the clients, it's all gone." That's when Micah stepped in from the porch, phone still recording. "Actually, it's not." The lawyer grabbed Jasper's arm. "Don't say another word." But Jasper was unraveling. "You think you're so clever? I made you. Without me, you'd still be decorating suburban living rooms." That's enough." The lawyer's voice was sharp. "Mrs. Whitmore will be in touch through proper channels." As they turned to leave, Jasper paused. "You know what's funny? I actually thought you loved this house more than your career. Guess we were both wrong about something." The door slammed behind them. Eden hugged me tight as my legs finally gave out. "It's not over," I whispered. "He'll find another way to." "Let him try," Micah said quietly. "You've got something he never had, people who believe in you." I looked around at my designs, my life's work, knowing that tomorrow's headlines would either vindicate me or destroy everything I'd built. Portland job would have to wait. This was war. The media storm hit faster than anyone expected. By morning, every design blog and local news outlet had picked up the story. Rising designer accuses ex-husband of corporate espionage. But it was Jasper's countermove that I hadn't seen coming. "He's calling a press conference," Eden said, bursting into my home office. "Right now." Outside his firm. I grabbed my keys, but Micah blocked the doorway. "That's exactly what he wants, to make you look unstable in public." "No," I said, understanding flooding in. "He wants to control the narrative. But I have something better." 20 minutes later, I walked into the crowd gathering outside Jasper's office building. He stood at a makeshift podium, Talia notably absent, spinning a story about a bitter ex-wife and baseless accusations. Then I stepped forward, phone in hand, and pressed play. Jasper's own voice filled the air. "Once Lark's out of the picture, we can restructure the whole business. Her client list alone is worth more than the house. The reporters turned as one, cameras swiveling toward me. Jasper's face went from confident to cornered in seconds. "Would you like to explain," I asked clearly, "how my designs ended up in your company's new portfolio 3 months before you filed for divorce?" "This is ridiculous," he sputtered. "These are clearly manipulated recordings. Actually, a new voice cut in, they're not." Talia stepped out of the crowd, holding a thick folder. "I have copies of every email, every meeting note, every conversation where you and my father planned this. And I'm prepared to testify." The reporters surged forward, questions flying. But I kept my eyes on Jasper, watching the careful facade crumble as his lawyer appeared, frantically trying to end the press conference. "You know what the funny thing is?" I said, just loud enough for him to hear over the chaos. "You were so worried about me overshadowing you that you never realized I would have shared everything. The success, the recognition, all of it. But you couldn't stand the idea that it came from me." His lawyer was pulling him away, but Jasper turned back. "You've ruined everything." "No," I replied calmly. "You did that yourself. By the way, the Portland Hotel Group? They're not just hiring me for one project anymore. They've commissioned me to redesign their entire chain. Turns out scandal is good for business when you're the one telling the truth." As security cleared the crowd, Eden appeared at my side. "Ready to go?" I looked up at the building where I'd once dreamed of having my own office, back when I thought I needed Jasper's connections to succeed. "Actually, I need to make one more call. The realtor has an offer on the house." "You're selling after all?" "Yes," I smiled. "To someone who'll appreciate it properly, me. Under my new company's name." The reporters were still shouting questions, but for the first time in weeks, I felt perfectly calm. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about destroying someone else's dreams, it's about finally living your own. 6 months after the press conference, I stood in my newly redesigned home office, watching the movers carry in the last pieces of custom furniture. Portland Hotel Chain Project had been such a success that I'd opened a second design studio, this one focusing on helping women rebuild their spaces after major life changes. The irony wasn't lost on me. "Last box," Eden announced, setting down a container labeled Memories. Inside were the divorce papers I'd found that first day, now stamped with a judge's final approval. Beneath them lay a letter I hadn't opened yet, from Micah. "You should read it," Eden said quietly, heading for the door. "Some things are worth more than revenge." I waited until she left before breaking the seal. The letter was short, but it made my hands tremble. "Lark, by the time you read this, I'll be in Seattle starting that architecture firm I always talked about. I couldn't stay and watch you rebuild without telling you the truth. I've been in love with you since the day you painted your front door that outrageous shade of blue. But you needed a friend more than an admirer, and that mattered more than my feelings. You're the most resilient person I know. Don't let anyone dim that light again." "Micah." A knock at the door interrupted my thoughts. Talia stood there, looking professional in a blazer and portfolio case. "The internship application you asked for," she said, holding out a folder. "I know it's awkward, but—" "It's not," I interrupted. "We were both deceived. The difference is what we chose to do about it." She smiled tentatively. "I heard Jasper's firm is struggling. It turns out clients don't trust companies that steal designs." "I heard. I took the portfolio. But that's not my story anymore." After she left, I walked through my house, my true house now, legally and emotionally. Every room held memories of pain, but also of triumph. I'd kept the sage green walls Jasper hated, added bold artwork where he'd insisted on bland prints, and turned his precious home office into a creative studio bursting with color and light. My phone buzzed with a text from Eden. "Dinner tonight? Micah's back in town." I looked at his letter again, then at the blue front door visible through my window, the first thing I'd ever designed purely for myself. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. Sometimes it's about getting free. "Tell him to meet us at 7, I texted back. And Eden, thank you for everything. Sighed the setting sun painted my walls in shades of gold and promise. I had built this life twice now, first with Jasper, then despite him. But this version was better. This version was mine. And this time I was leaving the door open for possibilities.